Hello again and welcome back. So in this video I am actually answering a question from one of my other YouTubers named E. Brian, and he asked how would I treat and hem a curved hemline, and he basically left that video in response to another video I had done where I was basically teaching that if you're going to join two seams, no matter how you join them, whether it's 90 degrees or not, that's supposed to be 90 degrees. Whether it's 90 degrees or not, the joining of the two angles or two seams needs to be 180, and 180 is a straight line. Now, just because it's a straight line, whatever these angles are equals a straight line, does not necessarily mean it has to be a completely straight line. This could be something like, let's see, like a curved line, like this. And let's just say for some reason you were joining something like that. This down here, if this is straight, where it's joining, then it needs to, or then you can join two seams right there and you won't have a lot of problems. You can also put a seam there. You could also put a seam here. You can put seams just about anywhere you want to put a seam as long as it's on a straight line. Now, you're probably like, okay, well, what's the difference? That's just about any line. Well, if you think about it, this is what I'm not saying. You don't want to join here. For one, this angle is going to be very stiff because there's a seam there, and for two, this doesn't look right. Now, of course, you can test whatever you want to test and do whatever you want to do, but just from a rule of thumb, that doesn't look right. Okay? Now, if you were to change this and put the seam there, that's different. And you can have this angle or whatever you want to do. For instance, and this is kind of segueing into how to hem curved hemlines, if you were to do a handkerchief skirt, and a handkerchief skirt is basically this. It's a circle skirt that instead of a full circle circumference, it has a square circumference. And so that square circumference is what gives the handkerchief skirt its appearance. So once it falls, and you can put your grain line like this, or you can put your grain line like this. It really doesn't matter. It just depends on how you want the skirt to fall. And we'll talk about that in another video. But anyway, this is what causes the hem of the handkerchief skirt to have those nice pretty points in the end, but they're not putting the seams here because that would look really funny. And most times you want your seams to be at the side seam anyway, so if you're going to do two side seams and this is going to be your sides, then you have this really awkward point right in the middle of your garment. And that's fine too, but it would be better if you wanted to have a point in the middle of your garment. Then, let me draw a third example. Then you would be better off doing something like, let me think. We do a point there, point there, point there. You would be better off almost like doing this. And then that way, you could still do it how you wanted to do it, but you could make your side seam or your sides here and your center back and center front there, and then it would work out kind of like you want it. Or you could really just do a shape that just has more angle to it. So rather than a 4-angle shape, you could do something like a 6-angled shape. What is that, a hexagon? So 1, 2, 6. Okay, so Okay. And so you could draw your circle there. And you could actually do this, and that would give you your point in the front and in the back. And it will also give you these other little secondary points to the sides, and this would be your side seam, side seam, side seam, side seam, side seam, side seam. Okay, so that's one way to do that. Okay, now basically moving on to answer his question about how you would hem a curved hemline or angled hemline. You basically would use a rolled hem. That's the simple answer. And if you were on my email list, I talked about this a couple weeks ago. A narrow rolled hem is basically, who knew, got it on the wall. If this is the outside of your garment, this is the inside of your garment near the body. A narrow rolled hem is basically a hem that you're just going to flip up twice. So you're going to flip it up once, and then you're going to flip it up again. So the hem will end up being like this, and then you're going to stitch it down. Oops. Okay. And that's the short answer of how you would hem something that has a curved hemline, because it's going to be extremely difficult to add a 1-inch seam line or something like that. You would do a lot better either just leaving it like it is and just knowing that you're going to take away from the hemline sign, or you could be kind of proactive about it, and you could say, okay, this is where the garment is, and then I'll just add another 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch around there. The thing that makes curved and angled hemlines difficult to hem is the fact that the bigger you get, the bigger the circumference is. And the reason why that's a problem is because if this is your skirt, and this is a very dramatic skirt, normally with a straight hemline, you're just going to add 1 inch or 2 inches, and then you're going to fold it up, and then you're going to stitch it down. The thing that makes this so easy and so straightforward is this: if you treat this hemline as a mirror, what's down here has to mirror what's up here. Okay? So even if you're doing something like, oops. So even if you're doing something like, I keep drawing these really crazy waistlines. Okay, so I was attempting to make a pencil skirt. So even if you're taking away from the hemline and making it more angular, still all in all, this is a straight line, regardless of how, you know, how it's going, whether it's straight or whether it's pegged in a little bit. And so all you do is just continue to treat this like a mirror line. And the easiest thing to do would be to draw your hemline. Don't draw the end of the garment yet. Fold your paper on your hemline, and then to cut it. Well, okay, easiest thing to do. Sorry, y'all. Draw your hemline where you're gonna fold it, and then measure whatever the width of your hem is gonna be. So like 1 inch or 2 inches. Draw that, and then just don't draw the sides. And then what you'll do is just fold that, and so it'll end up being up here just on your paper, and then you're going to just cut that side seam out. So once you unfold it, it's going to look like that. And then you still would take just about 1/8 or so off of the very tip up to 0 at the hemline. Okay? Just to make sure that that doesn't make it all bulky right there at the side seams. So that's what you would do in a normal straight hem. Like I said, in a curved hem, let's use this piece as an example. If I were to add 1 inch, now that we've added this inch to this circumference, this, the very bottom of this dress, is much longer than the hemline. So once you fold that up, then not only are you fighting with that, and your hemline is going to look one way, but that's not even the worst part. You have to stitch it down to a space that is actually here. And that's not going to work because this is way shorter than this. So you're going to have all this extra fabric that you're kind of trying to push and fold, and it just makes a big mess. So the easiest thing to do would be to do some type of narrow road hem. And so if you wanted to add something to the bottom, because this is actually where you want the dress to stop, then you just say, okay, either I can get a rolled hem foot, or I can just kind of serge the bottom and then just flip the serging under twice, and then stitch it down. But either way, figure out what you need to add to the bottom and just add that. And then that way it's not that much bigger, and because the curve ends up going across the diagonal anyway. So if I drew this so you can see the bias, all of this is going diagonally across bias. This is fine because it's going with the straight grain. This is fine because it's going with the straight grain. All of this area is in the bias, and all of this is in the bias. So this is going to be the part of your garment that's going to fall the prettiest, but it's also going to be the part of the garment that's going to stretch some. In that stretching, that's what's going to make that narrow hem be able to, even though it's still just a little bit wider or longer than where you're going to stitch it down to, that stretching is going to enable you to be able to stitch it and not have too much problems. And I think that's about it. So yeah, prayers, I have a little newsletter, an email newsletter that you hear me talk about every now and then, that I talk about concepts like this on. And I try to explain everything in a nice, easy to explain manner, or easy to understand manner. And I also try to make YouTube videos about it every now and then. And so if you want to hear more about stuff like this, join my little free newsletter. I try to make YouTube videos and try to put them on Facebook and do all the other stuff, but I don't always keep up with my YouTube and my website and my Facebook because it's only me. And I'm trying to do whatever is easiest to get out, just so I can teach and not have to, do 1,000 things and keep up with 1,000 different accounts. So if you want to hear from me on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, then join my email newsletter. If not, and you're okay with getting these occasional YouTube videos or occasional things on Facebook, then you can join me there. But either way, there's a link in the description about how to get on my newsletter. And that's it. Thank you for watching.